few months ago, I had a moment of clarity. While walking around some desolate stretch of central Utah with a camera in hand, it dawned on me that this thing that I was doing is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. To be a photographer. But not just any old photographer, not even a good photographer. I wanted to be a great photographer. If there's anything I learned while going to New York for that Leica 100 event and being surrounded by the professional photographers that I hope and aspire to be someday, is that all of them, their work had focus. For everyone that I talked to at the moment, they were involved in some sort of project. Their work had purpose. I have had a ton of small project ideas come and go, but nothing has crystallized. And that's because, if I'm being honest, it's really hard to put that much time and energy and focus into a long-term project when you're doing full-time YouTube. Because at the end of the day, the YouTube schedule ultimately wins. But there is a photo project that I've had rattling around in my brain for a few years now that is possible because of this. That's right, my first photo project is going to be done on this, a cinema camera, more specifically the Red Monstro. Let me explain. 2 years ago, I decided to take a really long road trip up the Pacific Northwest. 2 days into that road trip, a guy named Jared Land, who you might know as the former owner and CEO of Red Cinema Cameras, reached out to me via email asking, do I want a camera? I am intrigued, go on. He says, hey, I really like your black and white photography and I have a really interesting camera that I think you should borrow. And that camera was a one-of-one full-spectrum Red Raptor, the entire story of which you can see here. But at the end of the month, before I had to return it back, I drove all throughout Utah with my buddy Joey Helms, filming a ton of stuff, and then we converted that full-spectrum image into black and white. And ever since then, I have been obsessed with infrared monochrome. At the end of last year in November, I was looking at picking up a second cinema camera to go along with my Red Komodo X. I knew I wanted to stay within Red because I love the codec, the workflow, the image, etc. I looked at the Komodo OG, I looked at picking up another Komodo X, I thought about getting a Raptor, but that was too far out of my price range. And then it dawned on me, like, why don't you look at DSMC2? And the Red Monstro has always been my dream camera. However, the camera, when it came out, was $80,000. I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to afford that camera. However, when I went to MPB, the depreciation on those cameras was startling. For $5,000, I could pick up the Brain, and another 2K could get me to this point that you see here. So I was definitely interested, but I had not yet pulled the trigger. That was until I went onto YouTube, as one does when they're trying to find out new information about a camera they might buy, and I found some shocking footage. That was of a Red Helium, also DSMC2, shooting infrared monochrome. And I was like, how did you do this? Did you convert the sensor? Well, in the DSMC2 line, they actually have a removable OLPF, an optical low pass filter. Normally, the cameras just have the OLPF attached to the sensor in some sort of way. I want to say laminated, but I don't know if that's the correct term. And so to get full spectrum, every sensor is full spectrum. You have to remove a bunch of layers. However, because of this removable OLPF, Kipper Tie makes a full spectrum and an infrared OLPF. So without converting the sensor, without sending the camera in, without the costly repair process and conversion process, I was able to just buy a filter, install it into this, and I could shoot infrared black and white. The only part that I hadn't quite figured out is that this is a cinema camera and I needed to convert it into a regular camera. I'm gonna need help with this. Red used to have an extensive tutorial section on YouTube called the Solitary Series, and the Solitary Series was taught by James Lucarelli. I'm lucky enough to know James, and I was able to reach out to him and
basically explain the situation, what I was trying to do. And I was able to set up a coaching call with James where he taught me so many incredible things about DSMC2 brains and what they could do advantage-wise over the newer brains when it comes to stills mode. For example, they can shoot in a near uncompressed format, 2:1 instead of 5:1. This will really blow your mind. They can do an exposure bracketing mode in just one photo. And then finally, check this out.
Just a sec, hear this. Yeah, we changed it to a money noise. How cool is that? You can change it to some other noises, but I was like, oh, I definitely want the cash register.
I decided to take what I learned from James and do a test shoot the next morning.
So here we've got the Monstro all set up. It's doing a time lapse, but this is what it looks like in the infrared mode. We'll convert it to black and white later. I just want to point out how big of an idiot I am. That entire time lapse was shot here. I totally forgot to actually find freaking focus. So that entire time lapse is going to be out of focus and basically useless. But instead of internal time lapse, we're going to be on red code burst. And I've turned off the limit enable. I could like set how many frames I want to do, but this one just means that I can open a roll, right? Start the recording, and then every time I hit that little button right there, that little star button, it's going to take a photo. So we're going to close this. Right now I'm at 1/250. Here's my frame. Everything is in focus, which is nice. And if I really need to check, I can come into focus and I can see that all of that's in focus. I can turn that off. And so if I start this, right? So now it's open, it's going, the roll is going. And now every time that I take and press this button right here, it's gonna take a frame for me. So just like that, I'm marking frames. So that's taking the stills at 800 ISO, 1/250, 5600. And what's super cool is in post, I can actually change that ISO. So now all I have to do is go home, figure out how to get the R3D into Photoshop, because you can, and then in Photoshop do the edit.
Now, everything was kind of mapped to a preset. So if you want that preset, if you have a Red DSMC2 and you're interested in shooting motion and stills, well then that preset is linked down in the description below. And there was so much more, but I have forgotten. You see, James has been with Red for a very, very long time. He's a genius. And he's probably forgotten more than most operators will ever know. So if you've got a Red and you want to know more about how to use it to its full potential, reach out to James and set up a coaching call like I did. Now, here is the game plan. On Tuesday, which is today, the day that this video came out and you're watching it, I will be driving at the butt crack of dawn down to central Utah, because one of those images that I've seen very clearly in my mind is at that location, and it's the last day for quite a while for it to have the conditions that I want to shoot it in. Whenever you're shooting black and white and shooting landscapes, clouds are just nice to have. They add a lot of texture and a lot of weight to the photo, and that's what I want in this photo. So I've got to go down super early to catch the cloud cover before it dissipates for a few weeks. I'm going to drive immediately back to Salt Lake, about 8 hours of road tripping, and then I'm going to take that photo to my friends at Pictureline, who said they would be willing to print it. So now I've got to, I'll take it to Pictureline, we'll figure out the paper, we're going to print it in a big old panorama, and then when I go to Cinegear, I'm going to give this to my friend that kind of inspired this entire thing. Well, that's it. That is the photo project. I am so excited to do it. And I guess I really just committed myself to taking the Monstro everywhere with me. I will share with you in an upcoming video the photo that I get, the result, and the progress of this project. This project is going to take a while. It's not something I can do in a few weeks. It's going to take me throughout the rest of the year, maybe even beyond that. But if you want to see the progress of this project, which is kind of a tongue twister, make sure you're subscribed. Just to clarify, it is free to subscribe. It's not an actual paid subscription. It's just says subscribe. So subscribe and you'll get progress to this project. And if you have any questions at all about why I'm using the camera, if you haven't figured that out, why infrared, anything at all, lens choices, please let me know down in the comments below. I'm pretty good about answering every single one of them. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. That goes a real long way with the YouTube algorithm. And I guess that's it. I will see you on the next one. Peace.